hopefully you're participating every time. And if you can't join us, I know you can go to Espresso Agents YouTube channel and watch them back. And especially if you see something you love here today, you can go and kind of rewatch it or just remind yourself or take a screenshot or whatever you need to do. It's always available for you. I'm Monica Weekly, as you may know, just from attending other mastery sessions. I love hosting these. I always enjoy the Q&A. I always get something out of it. And today I'm so excited to be re-interviewing or re-hosting Coach James. Are you there, Coach James?
Hey, here I am.
There he is.
I'm here. How you doing, Monica?
Awesome. I love your colorful shirt. You just look very, I don't know, full of sunshine.
Tropical. I'm always in the tropics in my mind.
I love that. I love that because because you're not in real life. You're in New York, right?
I am upstate New York. That's right, Rochester, New York. For any local people we might have, big shout out. But yep, upstate New York.
Awesome. That's great. Okay, before we get started, before I introduce Coach James, just want to do a little housekeeping like we always do. Of course, we've muted everybody, and that is for your benefit, because if we didn't, you'd be really annoyed because there's lots of background noise in everybody's life. So we've muted you, but that does not mean we do not want to hear from you. We do want to hear from you. So down below at the bottom of your screen, you can either go to Q&A or chat. I will monitor them both. And just when something strikes you, make a comment. If you have a question, write it in there. I'll try to get to it as quickly as possible, but if I don't get to it, right when we're talking about the subject matter, we will circle back to it at the end. Is that okay with you, James?
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. Anytime you need to interject a question, that's totally fine. It's not gonna throw me off.
Perfect. Yeah, let's make this a working hour or 45 minutes.
That's right.
Okay, so what I know about you from last time we met on one of these mastery sessions, which was really good, by the way, and I loved, you brought some new stuff, and that is hard to do anymore these days. So I'm really looking forward to this because we're going to talk about leads today. We're going to talk about what constitutes a lead, how do we decide whether we hang on to the lead, how do we follow up with leads. Everything is about that follow-up and lead management, right? That's what we're focusing on today.
Yeah, lead management, lead conversion.
Very important part. Good. And what else I learned about you that I love is that you coach all kinds of agents in every stage of their business, single agents, teams, and it's because you really like to do a really customized approach to how they'll respond, right? And where they are.
Yeah, that's right. It's not, my approach has never been cookie cutter. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's, I don't coach from a book. I don't coach from a manual. I kind of coach from the heart in the sense that I try to find out what is important to the client, what are their needs, where are they trying to go, what's their personality style, what do they typically sort of gravitate to, and then kind of steer them in a direction that hopefully they're going to be willing to go, and always bringing them back to their goal, always bringing them back to the point that, hey, you told me you want to accomplish blank. This is the path we've chosen. Let's keep walking.
Awesome. I love it. And you've coached thousands of agents and you've had many hours on the job. You were with Mike Ferry organization for a while before you went out on your own, correct?
Yeah, before and after. Yeah, Mike was the which I guess you could say in my career.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. All right. Well, let's dive into leads and let's get going. And the floor is yours.
Okay, awesome. Appreciate it. So first of all, I want to thank the Espresso Agent community, all of you guys that are showing up today. We're excited to talk with you, excited to help you with this particular aspect of your business that we love to label lead follow-up. And so I've got hopefully some things today that will get you to think a little bit about your lead follow-up system. I am sure there will be things that you have heard before, but if you're like just about every other agent that I've ever worked with, sometimes we need to hear them more than once, right? Before we actually start to take action on those things. And so I guess if you're taking notes, which I think would be obviously a great idea, you might want to just write down that it's not just the lead follow-up, as we were just saying with Monica, it's about lead conversion, okay? just pursuing a lead for the sake of pursuing them without a goal or a purpose is obviously of no value, right? Our goal is to ultimately convert the highest percentage that we possibly can to an actual paycheck, okay? So one of the things that I wrote down first in terms of lead follow-up is that we have to understand that this is where the money is made, okay? And you guys probably know that, but how often do you actually get on a prospecting call and set a qualified appointment on your very first conversation? All right, does that actually happen all that often? And the truth is, at least for most of the agents I know, that doesn't happen on the very first call. So the vast majority of your appointments that you will ultimately end up on are going to happen as a result of some form of lead follow-up. Now, it might be one phone call. This is all it takes. It might be a couple of them, or you know what, in some cases, it might be a prolonged situation, okay? So you've got to understand that at the end of the day, the money that you want to make, the people that you want to help in this business, in almost every case, is going to happen after a period of time where you've kept in touch, okay? So we got to get that through our heads, because I think for so many agents, and so often we get impatient, right? If you're like me, I mean, I'm in the same business really, except that my clients are real estate agents. They're not buyers and sellers, okay? And admittedly, there are times where I might be following up with somebody who has said, yeah, you know, I'm all interested in coaching and I want to get started. And then it's this process, right? So we have to learn to be patient, okay? That's one of the keys that is automatically going to upgrade your lead follow-up, is the willingness to be patient, okay? So I think one of the other key things that I wanted to at least kick off the session looking at was that, like most everything in this business, and for those of you that might have been a part of the handling objections class that I had done a couple months ago, I remember saying to you guys that there are two parts to handling objections. And guess what? There's two factors or parts to lead follow-up. One of them is the actual system you use. It's the words you use. It's the act of picking up a phone or texting them or showing up at their door. But the biggest part of lead follow-up happens right up here. Okay, there is a mindset component to lead follow-up, and this is, for most agents, the biggest part of the hang-up. Okay, it's not about trying to remind them always that they have to call their leads. I mean, you guys know that. What happens is, though, you get a reminder from your follow-up system on a particular day, and it says, hey, call Mr. Smith back. And you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I just talked to this guy like a week ago, and all he's going to do is think I'm pestering him, so you know what, I'll put that off for a couple of days. Right? And then the next time the reminder pops up, it's like, oh, geez, you know, I don't want to like over pester this guy. So, you know, I don't want to bother him. So I'm just going to wait a few more days. So most of the time, what I've seen for most of the agents is the hang up is in getting past the mental hurdle that you're bothering people. Okay. So you need to shift your focus. You need to do a level shift in your thinking and realize they asked you to follow up for a purpose, right or wrong. Okay, they gave you their information for a reason, right? You had a conversation, you asked them some qualifying questions, they said yes. As a matter of fact, we are thinking of selling. We are thinking of buying. And by the way, it's okay if you contact me. So you're not bothering them, you're doing your job, okay? They've asked you to follow up. And so you've got to get past this idea that, oh my gosh, if I call too often, if I contact him too often, I'm just going to be a pest, okay? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. We'll talk about some ways to kind of get past that. It's a process that I call disclosure, okay? And you can do that right up front when you first make contact with somebody that you know you're going to have to stay in touch with, all right? So again, just to recap, your money is going to be made in real estate from strong lead follow-up. You have to understand that you're not bothering, you're not pestering. If a person is truly motivated to buy or sell property, hopefully they're going to see value in the fact that you actually stay in touch with them, okay? So I don't know if anybody have a question on that so far, Monica?
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question there. In your experience, or based on what you know about human psychology, why is it that that is required? Why is it that people will not say yes the first time you call them? So maybe if we can understand that, it's a little...
Yeah, okay. Well, first of all, we have to understand that for most people, the act of making a decision of any kind is a challenge, okay? I mean, let's just be honest. If you've got, especially if it's a bigger decision, we often tend to put off making decisions for as long as possible, okay? So I think there's always this delay mechanism that comes into our thinking where it's like you kind of know you have to do something, you know it's time to make a move, you know it's time to get your house on the market, but it's like, oh my gosh, it's such a process, so maybe we can put it off another week. So I think there is an element where people, they don't want to make the wrong decision. Okay, so sometimes deciding to say yes to an appointment, deciding to say yes to a listing is just getting past their natural fear of making the wrong choice. And I think for a lot of people, they're just not ready. There isn't, in most cases, an absolute urgency that this has to happen on the 22nd of this month. So if they don't need to do it right now, again, they will tend to put it off. So therefore, we're left chasing them. We're left following up because they've said, yeah, we want to do it, but we don't have to do it by such and such a date. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. And if we put ourselves in their shoes, we can probably relate to that.
Oh, for sure.
Thinking about that. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay,
That's
great.
right.
Onward.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like I said, that again, we're starting to see already that the improving of your lead follow-up system starts by accepting a few things, accepting the fact that you have to be patient, accepting the fact that you're leading people to make a decision, which a lot of people tend to resist feeling like they're being pushed. So we're leading, we're trying to anchor back to some level of motivation that we've hopefully identified in our very first conversation. Okay, so a big part of your follow-up is to try to keep bringing them back and saying, hey, you guys mentioned to me the last time we spoke that you were still really excited about this idea of moving to California. So that's really part of the reason that I'm following up today, is just to make sure that I'm ready as soon as you are. Or, and I'm just sort of ad-libbing that, but the point is that I've tried to go back and remind them, try to bring them back to that mental state where they were when they were talking about California and it was super exciting. So, and we're going to get into some questions. We're going to get into some dialogue of, what do you say? How do you actually close them? How do you really get them to say yes, finally, to an appointment?
Awesome.
But we got to get past this idea in our head that all we're doing is being a pest. Okay? What we're doing is our job. And you know what? At some point along the way, with a lot of your leads, it's going to become obvious that they really weren't that motivated. And at that point, we let go. Okay? We decide, oh, you know what? This person really doesn't belong in my follow-up system anymore. Okay, so that kind of leads me to my next point, and that is that have we really defined what it means to be a lead? Okay, I think for a lot of agents, there's a confusion between what we call a lead and what we might refer to as more of just a database entry. Okay, because from my viewpoint, there's two groups of people that we need to keep a record of and keep in touch with. One of them is leads. The other one would be just our general database. Okay, so how do we define a lead? Okay, a lead is somebody that has a definite plan to either sell or buy property in the near future. Okay, so a lot of times we will subscribe to an online service. We will buy Zillow leads, for example, right? We'll sign up for some home valuation site. We will sign up for any number of various services or opportunities to get what we call leads. But the reality is they aren't a lead until we've spoken to them. They aren't a lead until we've asked some basic questions and decided that they meet certain criteria, okay, which we're going to talk about. So one of the questions I would have you think about is, what does it take to become a lead in your system? What does somebody have to do? What does somebody have to say for you to consider them a lead? Because the reality is for many agents that I've seen, their standards are just frankly too low. Okay, it's kind of like, well, they're breathing. Oh, okay, then they must be a lead, right? It's the old White Pages story. Well, here's my lead book. It's called the White Pages, or it's called the online directory, because everybody in there is going to move at some point. No, that's not really a lead. Okay, we can't be that general. We've got to get more specific. And I'll tell you right now, for a lot of agents, I just did a class last week where I was talking about things that can keep you from growing in your business. And one of the things I had said to that group was that we continue to qualify and define leads based on where we are instead of where we're trying to go with our business. Okay? Because you see, as you want to grow in your business, your standards for who is a lead have to change. When you're brand new, somebody that doesn't want to do anything for 6 months might be a hot lead to you. Okay? It's like, wow, I've got somebody that actually said yes to this script that I'm trying out. Once you get to doing 30, 40 deals a year, a 6-month lead isn't such a big deal anymore. It's like, I'm looking for the 90-day leads. You get to 50 to 75 deals a year in production, and now you're looking for 30 days or sooner. Okay? You're looking for a higher level of motivation. You're looking for a more meaningful reason behind the motivation. So the question again is, what does it take for somebody to qualify to be a lead in your business? And is that standard as high as it should be, or is it time to raise the bar on yourself a little bit? Okay, and start looking for a higher quality of a person in terms of their motivation, their time frame, their urgency, things like that. Okay, so hopefully that's making sense to you guys. And if it is, obviously you can make a comment, you can do a thumbs up, or you can do whatever to acknowledge that, hey man, that just spoke to me. Okay, so we need to define what is a lead. We need to have certain standards. So what are the standards? Okay, you might be thinking, all right, James, I get it, but what am I looking for then? Okay, so there's 4 things. 4 things that you will need to look for and define as a lead. Number 1 is obviously motivation. Okay, is there any? Is there a true desire and or reason to sell or buy property? Okay, and there's lots of questions you can ask to figure that out. Number 2 is they need to have a time frame. They need to be able to tell you a specific time frame as to when they want to make that move. Okay, so hey, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, gosh, this is great to hear that you guys are actually planning to make that move to Virginia. So I'm just curious, in a perfect world, like if you guys could pick the date, when would you actually like to be moving into that new house in Virginia? Okay, maybe that's a question that you use to try to pin down a time frame. But it's, if it's one of these things where it's like, well, we'd like to go to Virginia, and it's, it's possibly sometime perhaps in the next year or so, potentially if there's another solar eclipse, maybe we'll do it then, right? And it's all this vague nonsense where they haven't really thought it through. Okay, so motivation, time frame. Number 3 is what I call the issue of the other agent. That is a standard. If they're going to be a lead in your system, you need to know that you at least have a shot at their business. Okay? Because if they say to you, well, yeah, we're going to be moving, but my wife's sister is an agent, and that's who we're going to use to list our home. Okay, yeah, are there some objections you can try to run on or some handlers you can run on these guys to try to get past that? Yes, there are. But in most cases, you're not getting that business. Okay? So I see way too many agents who hang on to people thinking they're leads, but they've not bothered to really qualify them to see, do they meet these criteria? Okay, it's almost like they think about them as like, they're the mother hen, and these leads are like the little chicks, and it's like if I sit on them long enough, they'll eventually hatch and become an appointment. No, that's not the way it works. Okay, so we've got, again, motivation, time frame, other agent, and lastly is price reasonability. Okay, this would represent a bump in standard for some of you. Okay, are they willing to price it where the market says they need to price their home? Or are they what we call a conditional seller, which is, well, I'm only willing to sell, I'm only willing to move if I can get X amount for my house. Okay, that word if makes them what we call a conditional seller. Okay, I'll sell under the condition that I can get what I want my house to be worth. Okay, or I will buy a house if I can get it at a steal. Okay, so we spend a lot of time running around with a lot of people who are really only going to pull the trigger when all the moons are in alignment and certain things happen, and we waste a lot of time. Okay, so I want you to think about right now, think about the leads that you are pursuing as of today. How many of them actually meet those 4 criteria? How many of them genuinely need to do something in a relatively near time frame without somebody else they're already committed to, and are willing to be reasonable when the time comes? Okay, so that's, again, a little gut check to say, man, how many of these people that I'm pursuing are real? Mm-hmm. So I don't know, again, Monica, any questions, thoughts on that? Anything that...
No questions yet. I mean, you've been really clear, and it's quite a, I think, a gut check for people to say, if I look at my pipeline, what's real?
Yeah.
And we get this false sense of, I've got a lot in the pipeline if we're not following what you just said.
Yeah, that's right. And that's it. And again, I think for a lot of agents, we like to think, again, it's this mindset where we want to think that we have a huge pipeline. It makes us feel good to think about all these leads that I have, But, a lot of times I think agents are afraid to ask, they're afraid to dig because they don't really want to hear the answer. They don't want to know that half the people they think of as leads really don't even qualify.
Right.
And it's time to get rid of them because, oh my gosh, now my lead base is cut in half. Well, maybe it is, but wouldn't you rather pursue the people that you actually have a chance at getting paid on as opposed to chasing a bunch of people that are never going to do anything, or they're never going to do it with you, or they're never going to do it in a reasonable time frame? Okay? So I would rather see you get back out there and save all that time chasing unqualified leads and go find somebody that really is a qualified lead. Okay? So let's kind of go back to something else. When we talk about these standards and we talk about figuring out if they meet them or not, right? We have to remember we are salespeople, okay? And I know for a lot of agents, they don't want to be linked up with or associated with being a salesperson because we have a negative connotation of what it means to be a salesperson, right? We imagine a salesperson as being somebody who sort of creates an artificial need that doesn't really exist and attempts to fill it with a product that can't deliver. Okay, that's what a lot of people's perception of a salesperson is, right? It's the snake oil person showing up in town and opening their trunk and selling a bunch of junk to people who think they need something and then taking off. Okay, we are salespeople because part of being a salesperson means you help somebody make a decision that is going to improve their life. Okay, that's really at the core root of it. That's what we do. So the only way we can do that is to find someone who has a genuine need. Okay, so if you think about prospecting, right? Let's go back, 150, 175 years and think about what did prospecting mean? Prospecting used to mean digging for gold, spending days, weeks, months at a time with some crude instruments, digging in the ground, moving rocks, moving gravel, trying to find some nuggets. Okay, in a sense, that's what we're doing today. Our prospecting today is moving a lot of people to find the nuggets. And instead of using shovels and pickaxes and sluices and all these other pieces of equipment, we use questions. Okay? Our questions as a salesperson become our tools to dig. Now, again, the prospector in days of old couldn't create gold. Okay? They couldn't force gold to be in the ground. All they could do was dig to see if it's there. We can't create motivation in somebody. Okay, we can't force somebody to have a desire to move or want to do it tomorrow. All we can do is ask questions to see if it's there. So when we talk about motivation, we talk about time frame, we talk about, is there another agent? How are you ever going to uncover that if you don't ask a question? And again, I think for a lot of agents, they get afraid to ask the questions because they don't want to find out the answer. They don't want to find out they really have fool's gold. Okay. And that's what we have in a lot of cases, okay? So the who, what, where, when, why, right? The open-ended questions, okay? So a person, whatever script you're using, let's just take a very simple script for the moment, a hot market script where you're calling neighborhoods, all right? And you're basically saying, hey, check it out. We have a lot of buyers right now that we are actively trying to help find a property. And, unfortunately, we just don't have enough properties to show them. So I was hoping you could help me. Do you happen to know of anybody who's thinking about selling or buying property in the near future? Or what about you guys? Well, yeah, we've kind of thought about it, as a matter of fact. It's funny you call because, we have been talking about maybe putting our home up for sale. Gosh, that's interesting. Tell me a little more about that. What is it about your home that's not working for you anymore? Well, it's just getting a little small and our kids are getting bigger and, I'm thinking of moving to a home office, so I'm going to need some space for that. So that's kind of what we're thinking. Fantastic. So I guess I'd have to ask, in a perfect world, like if you guys could choose the date, when would you like to sell this home and be into that bigger home? If you guys could pick. Well, I don't know. I guess I'd probably say in the next few months or so. Okay, great. So in the next few months, if we could find a home that works, we could get top dollar for your property, you guys are ready to do this. Is that what I'm hearing? Yeah, that's right. Awesome. So I've just got to ask, at this point, do you guys already have an agent that you are absolutely 100% committed to using to help you with this process? Or are you guys at least open, to maybe sitting down and talking with me? No, we'd be willing to hear what you have to say. We don't have an agent. Okay, fantastic. And you see, I'm just running through this quickly to give you an example of how questions will give you the information. Do you know if they're motivated? Yes. Do you know why they're motivated? Yeah. Do you know what's behind it? Okay, yes, I do. Time frame, other agent, etc. So now you can say, you know what, this person's a lead. And I think it's so important because, again, we can talk all day long about which software system is the best one to follow up with your leads. And what is the best sequence of activities? Do I call them first and then send a letter, or do I send a letter and then call? How often do I email them? Should I do it every month or every other week? You know, we could go through a million combinations of that. But again, if you're pursuing someone who doesn't have a need for what you offer, does it really matter? I mean, does it really matter how often we contact somebody? Okay, so get clear on what you're going to do to make sure you improve or upgrade the quality of this group of people that you're calling leads. Then we can worry about what am I going to do with them to actually convert them to a paycheck. Okay, so guys, I hope that makes sense to you.
I love that analogy of questions are your tools, and the prospecting and the old form of prospecting. That is so clear in my head that we don't use our tools enough when we're trying to dig for gold. We don't ask the right questions. And that was a really great way of kind of laying that out. I love that.
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate that. And again, that's I said this to you the last time we did one of these events, that I always try to simplify the process. You know, I've always felt like if I can get an agent to understand what I'm sharing with them and asking them to do, they're going to be willing to do it. Because now they say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Now I can visualize myself digging, trying to uncover this little ore of gold. And I can tell if it's real or if it's fool's gold just based on the answers to the questions I ask.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, do they lie to us sometimes? Yeah, they do. Okay.
Well, sure, sure.
I mean, that happens. You're not gonna win 100% of the time, but you don't need to. If you do this stuff on a regular basis, you're gonna win way more than maybe you have in the past. It's just simply a matter of consistency.
Love it. Love it.
So now let's talk about the fact we've got leads, right? We know what we're dealing with. We've got this pool of people. We've qualified them. We know about, you know, their various time frames. We feel like we've got a legitimate shot at getting their business when the time is right. So now we start to move into, okay, what do I do next? And we need to understand that there are 5 basic ways that we communicate with people. Okay, 5 basic methods of having communication. All right. Number 1 is we talk to them on the phone. Okay, so that's one method. We can talk over the phone with them. Number 2, we can go see them face to face. Okay, we can meet up with them at a coffee shop. We can go knock on their door. We can meet them at an open house. We can do various things where we come face to face. Okay. Number 3, we mail them something. Okay, good old fashioned hard copy snail mail. We can put that in their mailbox and get a message to them that way. Number 4, we can email them. Okay, electronic mail. That's obviously a main source or main method for contacting our leads. And then 5thly, I'm going to sort of combine texting with, say, Facebook message or, you know, Snapchat or some other method that you might choose to use to communicate back and forth with somebody. Okay, so that's really it. Okay, I suppose we could throw smoke signals in there if you really wanted to and go retro again. But basically, guys, we have 5 ways to reach out and connect with somebody. Okay, you know, I would include Facebook messages, ads, all that kind of stuff in the 5th one. So an ideal follow-up system is going to, in a perfect world, it's going to incorporate all 5 of those things. Okay. And I'm going to put a little asterisk next to number 2, which is the door knocking or the face-to-face, because obviously if you have a lead that lives 45 minutes from you, I'm not going to suggest you jump in the car and go drive 45 minutes to knock on their door, hoping to catch them at home. All right, we need to use some common sense there. And one of the things that I would suggest you do is to create what I call your door knocking circle. Okay, and that is where you create this circle around your primary working place, which is either your home office or your regular office, and that can be maybe 15 minutes in every direction. So any lead that falls within that circle is fair game to work into a reasonable way to go see them, right? To show up face to face, because we're so much more powerful in our communication when we are face to face. When we have body language, we have facial expressions, they can see how we're dressed. We can connect a lot more deeply with somebody that way, even than we can on the phone. Okay? So let's back up a minute. One of the biggest problems most agents still encounter with their follow-up platforms is they are primarily email-based. Okay? Now, you and I both know a decade ago, email was a major form of communication. Okay, people would open just about, it's like, whoa, I got an email. It was exciting, right? And they read every letter of the email, okay, because it was new, it was exciting. Now, you're lucky to get a 15% open rate on your emails, okay, that you might blast out to your quote unquote leads or your database, okay, unless they know you personally, like a past client. Most people that you just create a follow-up relationship with from an open house, a phone call, or whatever, they're only going to read your emails maybe 15 to 20% of the time. And if you guys use any sort of analytics through, say, MailChimp or some other delivery system that tracks that, you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So many agents think that, wow, man, I've got all my leads on an email drip, and they get emailed every 21 days like clockwork. And so, man, I am just all over these people. I'm staying in touch. When they're ready, they're going to go with me. Yeah, right, because they're only reading what you're sending them 15% of the time at best, okay? So you have to introduce these other ways. And I'm telling you right now, the old-fashioned postcard has been making a comeback over the last couple of years because most people still read or at least glance at the mail that shows up in their mailbox, whereas it's so much easier for people to just go through and delete their emails that they don't know who it is, they don't seem to have an interest in it, okay? So postcards are simple. They don't have to open anything. Emails, obviously, I'm not saying don't email. I'm just saying recognize it has a place in the process. It is not the process for follow-up, okay? One of the most important things you need to get from all your leads that you're going to consider a lead is a cell phone number, okay? Because 95% of texts are read, okay? We know that. A high percentage of texts are read, whereas a very small percentage of emails are read. So if you're following up with somebody, I just had a client tell me this about a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. He said, you know what, I was calling these people and they weren't responding, they weren't returning my calls. I sent them a text and immediately they responded. And he ended up putting a sale together with that person because he finally established communication, okay? So when you are on the phone, when you've decided based on your conversation that this person is a lead that you're going to keep, you can say to them, hey, before I let you go, if you're like most of the people that I'm keeping in touch with right now, it seems that most of them would prefer to get a market update or a quick question or even a link with some information via text as opposed to email. So what is the best number that I can get that information to you if I need to? Okay, now I'm not coming out and saying, hey, by the way, give me your cell phone. It's just like too abrupt, right? But I'm giving them a reason. I'm giving them value to give me in exchange their cell phone. So, and I'm using the principle that we call inclusiveness, okay? This is where they are made to feel like everybody else. This is what everybody's doing, okay? So if you're like most of the people that I'm keeping in touch with right now, many of them seem to prefer to receive information via text as opposed to email. So what is the best number? Again, assumptive question. I'm not saying, can I get your cell phone, yes or no? I'm saying, what is the best number for me to text you that information when I have it? Now, is that a guarantee? Is that a foolproof? Does that mean every single person you say that to is going to give you their cell phone number? No. But if you got 50% more than you might have right now, would that help you communicate with your leads better? What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. Because they'll read it. They'll get your text. So let's go to something else here. What is the purpose of follow-up? Okay, typically if I'm doing an event or whatever and we get to the section on follow-up, I'll say, okay guys, show of hands, who can tell me the purpose of lead follow-up? And everybody will say to get an appointment. And I'll say, yes, that's only half true. Okay, the other half of that is it's to brand yourself in their mind. Okay, that's the other purpose of lead follow-up. The branding happens as we're leading up to the appointment. Okay, because like we said, it might be a week or two, it might be a month or two before some of these people are finally going to say yes and be ready to meet with you. So in the meantime, we need to brand you. Why do you think Coca-Cola and Microsoft and Ford Motor Company and all these gigantic corporations, why do you think they still spend hundreds of millions of dollars a year on commercials and advertising? They don't expect you to rush right out and buy a six-pack of Coke just because you saw the commercial on TV. You know, Ford isn't expecting you to run right down and put it in your order for the new Mustang because you read an ad in the magazine. They know you may not be ready today, but they are scared to death that when you finally do get ready to buy your next vehicle, that you're going to forget that Ford Motor Company exists. That's their biggest fear. That's what motivates them to continue spending the money they spend. Their branding. Okay? They want to make sure that their company name, their service, their product is top of mind when the consumer is ready to make a decision. Okay? That needs to be part of your purpose and follow-up. Okay? It's to brand yourself. It's to make sure your name is top of mind. So that's why we send the postcards. That's why we might send an email. That's why we might send a text, so that when we call, there's familiarity, there's rapport. It's not like, oh yeah, I think I remember talking to you a month and a half ago when we first spoke. It's like, oh yeah, I get your information. I see your postcards, or I see your emails come through, or whatever. Okay, so it's like the all that stuff in between sets up the phone call, the two-way communication, where you now get to try to advance the lead to the point of creating an appointment. Okay, so again, is this making sense? I mean, are we following? Are we tracking here?
Everybody must be tracking, no question. So it's super clear, and you have just a knack.
Either that or they fell asleep, Monica. So maybe I should yell really loud, right, and wake them up.
Well, you know what's funny? What came to my mind when you were saying that is, you know, when you buy a new car and all of a sudden you see those cars everywhere because you have awareness. And that's another effect of the follow-up is, you know, then they'll notice your sign down the street that you have the listing. And then all of a sudden it is their brains are going to prove to themselves that Monica or James is the person for this job.
That's right. Exactly.
That proof.
Yeah, you know, people have a comfort level with familiarity. So we're trying to create familiarity with the brand, with the name. Okay, that's the reason we follow up in so many different ways as frequently as we do. You know, the old rule of thumb used to be, if a lead tells you they're going to do something in 4 months, cut the time frame in half and call them in 2. You've lost them. They won't even remember you in 2 months. Okay, it'll be like, who? I don't remember talking to you. You know, you need to immediately start a sequence of action that is going to make you a household name, so that when 4 months from now rolls up, it's like, okay, this is the person that we're at least going to interview. We're at least going to sit down with you, if not actually hire you, because we feel like we know you. We've seen your name, we've seen your face, we've seen some of your track record. And that's all because of the sequence of stuff you've been doing to lead up to that point.
So in other words, you're also proving yourself as a responsible business person.
Yes, exactly.
You're going to do. You're sort of performing for them for the job.
You are. In fact, there's a couple different ways to do this, but you know, you can let them know right up front. Again, this is going back to something I said earlier about disclosure. Okay, is at the end of your conversation to say, hey, listen, you know, one other quick thing. I just want to let you know, I'm going to continue to stay in touch with you fairly regularly. I'll be putting some things out in the mail to you. I'll check in with you once in a while via text. I'll give you a phone call. And I just want to let you know that the purpose in me reaching out to you is not to try to twist your arm and cause you to do something you're not ready to do. You know, my job isn't to tell you when to put your home up for sale. It's to be there for you when the time is right. But I just want you to know, because I'm guessing that when you do get ready to list your property, you're going to want to choose an agent that you know has proven themselves to be organized and has the ability to actually market your home. I mean, is that fair to assume? And of course, they're going to say yes, right? Because you're putting a positive spin on what you're about to do. And you can even remind them of that. You know what I mean? You can even remind them of that in the course of your follow-up.
Right.
Is to just, you know, you've got a phone call and you say, hey, look, I just want to remind you that part of the reason I'm checking in with you from time to time is not to pressure you. It's just to remind you that I'm excited about the opportunity to help you when the time is right.
Perfect.
Okay, so it's continually planting seeds. At the presentation, you can say, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you know, one of the things I'm guessing, if you're like most people that hire me, one of the things that you're probably looking for is an agent that is proven they take their business seriously and really are committed to serving their customers. Is that fair to assume that's part of what you're looking for? And what are they going to say? No, we don't really care about that.
Right.
Of course they're going to say yes, right?
Yeah.
Say, listen, I don't know if you realize this or not, but since we first spoke back on April 23rd, do you realize we've actually had over 30 forms of communication back and forth just in this last 4 or 5 months? Do you guys realize that? In fact, I was looking at that today as I was prepping for our appointment. I've actually emailed you 17 different times during that time frame. I've called you 9 times. I remember, if you remember, I stopped by your house back on the 4th of July just to give you guys a supply of little flags. And, you know, we've traded some texts, and, you know, you could go through this whole summary of your follow-up with them and say, listen, you know, the whole reason we're sitting here today is because I took the time, because your need to sell the property was important enough to me to make sure that I didn't lose touch with you.
That's
So,
great.
you know, you can use your own words, but the point is you can even use the follow-up as a closing technique at the listing appointment
Yeah.
to say, look, I've already shown you, I've already sort of proved to you, right?
Right. How much do you think in the follow-up is just a timing luck thing? And so you're sort of creating fate by just being there all the time, because when they decide to make a move, it's kind of the next person that shows up may very well get that business.
Yeah, that's right. Sometimes it is that. And so there is always an element of that, you know, serendipity, I think, that plays into it. That's why it's not a one-to-one conversion.
Right.
You know, you could be the greatest prospector with the best questions, the strongest follow-up system that you actually use and follow through on, and you still might only end up with, you know, half of the leads in your pipeline actually giving you an appointment and a percentage of them actually listing with you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you're right. What we're trying to do is not create perfection. We're trying to say, okay, now I'm converting 1 out of every 10 leads. Can we get you to 4 or 5 out of 10? You see, that's growth, that's progress, that's improvement. We're never going to be perfect. No system is ever going to be perfect, but can we help you get more deals closed by closing some of these gaps?
That's great. And by the way, James, you're getting some good feedback. Wes says, we're all here. It's damn good stuff. And then Paul says, good info, James. So they're tracking with you.
They're paying attention. That's always nice to hear.
They're paying attention.
Good. Okay, so, you know, we've kind of talked a little bit about the process of follow-up. We've talked about the methods of follow-up, okay? Mm-hmm. So I want you to think about the phone call itself, okay? When it's time to actually call the person back, we've got 3 things we're really trying to do or say. Number 1 is we want to remind them of what they told us on our last call. So therefore, does it become kind of important to have some notes in your system, right? So if you call up the lead, hey, Mr. Smith, this is James here at XYZ Realty. I don't know if you remember or not, we spoke about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I wrote down something you said to me. You said that, look, we're really getting excited about this move to Chicago, or whatever it was. I'm just making this up, okay? But I wrote down, you know, blank. You know, we spoke a few weeks ago, and this is what you told me. You asked me to give you a call back just before Labor Day. And so I wanted to make sure I honored that request from you. Okay, so this is part 1 of the 3 things. So first thing is remind them of what they told you on the last conversation, because that immediately brings familiarity, it brings rapport, it brings purpose to your call. Okay, the reason I'm calling is last time we spoke, you told me blank, so therefore. Second part of that is I just wanted to check back and find out, is that still your plans, or has anything changed since we spoke last? Okay, so in other words, you told me a week or so ago that you were thinking probably end of August was when you were going to want to get the property on the market. Are you still thinking end of August, or have you decided to maybe do anything a little bit sooner? Okay, so in other words, we're reconfirming that the information we were told the last time is still valid, that nothing has changed. Okay, and then thirdly and lastly is assuming you can't get the appointment, right? Assuming you're still in follow-up mode, you know, what could I do today to help you guys? What information can I give you or get into your hands? What questions can I answer? Or some form of that, right? Is there anything I can do for you? Do you guys have any questions? I'm sure you've been giving this a little bit of thought as the time gets closer. Is there anything I can provide for you that will help you guys be ready for this when the time is right? Okay, so it's value added. This is what you told me. This is why I'm calling, and I just, you know, I wrote down blank. I wanted to find out, is what you told me still the case, or have you changed your mind, changed your plans, changed your time frame? And thirdly, is there anything I can do for you guys? Do you have any questions? Is there any information I can get to you? Okay. Now, assuming, of course, that they are getting closer. So if somebody, let's say, what's today? Today's Wednesday. If somebody says, we're probably going to need another week or so before we're ready. Hey, great. You know what? The truth is, I'm actually setting up my schedule for next week, believe it or not. So I don't know if you have a calendar handy, but I know I've got some time available next Tuesday around 4:30, and it also looks like I have some time on Wednesday around 7. Would either one of those be good for you? Maybe we could just pencil that in right now. Okay, so you're always looking for the opportunity to close. Okay, I don't want you to think that every time you call, it's just like pushing them out. When the time is right, yes, you need to close, because that's the second purpose, right, of our follow-up, is to convert to an appointment. So how are we going to get an appointment if we don't ask? Okay, so ultimately, yes, you have to close. But a lot of times there's going to be some issue. There's some circumstance. Well, the contractor that was supposed to put the new carpet in broke his leg, and so we're going to wait. We have 2 more weeks. Okay. Remember, sometimes, guys, we get conditions. Remember, we talked about this a couple months ago. That when you talk to people, you get one of 3 responses. You get a comment, an objection, or a condition. So sometimes, as you're following up with your leads, they have real conditions, real issues that are preventing the time frame from being now. Okay? Now, could you close around that? Could you say, hey, tell you what, why don't we still get together? I can share with you what I do. If you guys feel comfortable, we can go ahead and take care of the paperwork and just post-date the listing until the carpeting has been installed. Okay, would you guys be open to that as long as everything else made sense? Yes, sometimes you can close in spite of a little bit of a delay. Other times, they're not going to want to go for that. This is where the patience comes in again, right? As long as you know they're still committed, motivated, serious, sometimes you just have to hang in there and be patient until the time is right. Okay? So hopefully, again, that kind of makes sense to you guys.
It does. One thought I was having while you were saying taking notes, I think that's also important. If there's an opportunity to connect with them at a human level, like maybe their child was sick the last time you talked, or their dog had just run away, or they've just gone on a trip, be sure to connect there, right? I mean, that's another missed opportunity, I think, by a lot of people. Just show up as human on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I just, a guy just got involved in my coaching a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that was happening as I was following up with him was he had something going on with his family. He didn't really share with me exactly what it was, of course, but he just said, hey, I can't talk today. I've had something come up with my family. Can you reach out to me next week? Which I did. And absolutely, that was one of the things I said. I hope everything is, calmed back down, or hope everything's okay now with the family. I've got some time to talk. We talked. He signed up. Perfect example of that. It's a great point, Monica, is you have to, yes, you're a salesperson, but yes, we are humans as well. And, people do like to do business with people that they feel they can relate to. So anything we can do to be more relatable in most every case is definitely going to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, one of the things I'd written down toward the end of my notes is that there are, of course, several mistakes, I guess you could say, that I've seen agents tend to make. I've kind of touched on a few of these along the way today, but one of the more common things that I see happen is that agents will, they'll often rely on an unreplied to email or a text or voicemail as follow-up. Okay. In other words, they've left, maybe in their notes, the last 3 attempts they've made have been voicemail, email with no return, and a text that was never responded to. But in their mind, they're still thinking they're following up. Okay. So at some point, you have to realize, I've got to reconnect. I've got to do what it takes to actually get a conversation. And I can remember many, many times over the years saying to some of my clients who are presenting me with these kinds of challenges on their call, right? And they'll say, man, I've got this lead here. I'll ask them, what's going on with so-and-so? Oh, they haven't returned my call. And I said, okay, well, how many attempts have you made? Just 1. Okay. So I said, let's think for a moment. Assuming you get that listing and you're able to help them sell it and get paid a commission, how much income are you going to earn from that commission? And they'll do the math of, oh, it's, $6,000 or $10,000 or whatever. And I'll say, okay, if you lost your wallet or something that had $10,000 in it, how much effort would you make to recover that? How many times would you attempt to try to find that? Or if you knew somebody that had it, that you would go to their house if need be, right, to try to get it back? So my point there is there any real urgency here to convert? Is it okay, they didn't reply to my last couple of texts, so I'll just forward them another week or so into my pipeline? No, you've got to say, look, several attempts have been made. I'm not hearing back from them. I have to at least make a couple more attempts to get them on the phone. And that might mean you have to call them at 7:45 at night. It might mean you've got to call them early in the morning. It might mean you plan to knock on their door at 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning because you're going to be in the neighborhood anyway, and try to connect. I can't tell you how many times I've heard over the years that agents will make that last couple of attempts, actually make contact with their lead again, who had been, incognito for a couple of weeks, and they get the sale. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, guys, it's just persistence. Mm-hmm. Okay, that is going to win the game. Mm-hmm. At some point, go ahead, Monica.
I was going to say, back in another life, I was a recruiter for a bank, and I would purposefully not respond to their first several follow-ups because I was looking for that. And I don't know that sellers are that purposeful in it, but at some level, you can think of it like that, maybe.
Yeah, that's right.
Tested.
That's right. And you know what the truth is? At some point, you may have to drop somebody because it's just, okay, now I've made 10 attempts. I've knocked on their door. I've called them at 8 o'clock at night, left them a message, left them X number of messages. Yes, at some point, we've got to stop chasing people who have apparently disqualified themselves. But the problem is so many times agents give up way too soon. Mm-hmm. Okay. Another mistake that I often see is that, and I don't know that this is exactly the right way to phrase it, but it's they're not tough enough. In other words, they're, again, not willing to really ask the important question to try to get the close. So for example, you might say, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, or buyer, we've spoken now several times over the last month or so, and I'm just curious, are you guys still as excited about getting your home on the market and making that move as you were the first time we spoke back in May? Now, for a lot of agents, that might seem to be a tough question, or they might feel like maybe it's too direct or it's too whatever. But, remember, our job is to help people who need our help. And if something has changed, we need to be willing to ask the question to draw out the honest answer, where they might say to you, and again, most agents, a lot of them don't want to do it because they think it's either too abrupt or they don't want to hear the answer. They don't want to find out that, we have kind of decided we're probably just going to stay put. Okay, so be willing to ask the tougher questions. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite lead follow-up questions, and there's a couple different ways you can ask it, is to say, listen, at this point, Monica, may I just ask, what else needs to happen before you would be ready to sit down with me and talk about the process of getting your home on the market?
Yeah, well, I probably just need to get my significant other on board with it.
Okay.
We're in two different places.
Yeah. So at this point, though, the last time you guys spoke, is he as excited about making this move as you are?
Yes, just our timing, we can't figure that out. So
okay.
We're not in agreement.
You're not in agreement. Okay. So if I were to, I don't know about you, but it's from what you shared with me, it seems like this is something that you're, fairly anxious to do. So at this point, if I were to check back with you first part of next week, do you think that would maybe give you enough time to really try to have that conversation with him? Or do you think there would be a better time for me to follow up again?
Well, no, that should be good. We'll see if I can't, do some magic, work some magic.
Okay. At this point, now again, are there any specific concerns that they've shared with you that as to why they're maybe not ready to do this?
Just timing of it with work, and it's just we have a lot going on in our lives. Yeah, I know, and it's crazy because most people do, right?
I think just if I can help you to maybe sell them on the meeting is just to remind them that all we're doing is getting together to talk about options. We're talking about, strategy, gives you guys both a chance to ask me questions and really figure out what is it going to take to make this happen. Because based on that information alone, that might help, you guys both to feel comfortable moving forward, or you might decide, we really need to table this till after the holidays. And either way is okay with me. So maybe if you let them know that we're not getting together to pin them down and force a signature, we just want to talk about options and get questions answered, maybe that would be, worthwhile enough to take 20, 30 minutes together.
Yeah, that's great. Love that.
So again, you do have to be a human. You have to respond to and realize that people do have a lot going on. This goes back to something you asked me earlier. Why does it take so long? Mm-hmm. Well, in a lot of cases, again, it's just people are busy. And making a move, let's be honest, is not the most convenient thing in the world. So until it actually becomes necessary, most people will continue to push it off because it's a major disruption in our lives. Okay? So we have to kind of go with that flow, but we're always trying to bring them back to, look, at the end of the day, the need to move overshadows the need for staying put. You know what I mean? And we got to be there at that tipping point, or try to help them see that, yeah, this is going to be a bit of a tough road for a month or so, but on the other side of it is what you guys have said you want. So
perfect.
Yeah.
More good feedback coming in, just everyone appreciating the information.
Good. So I guess just in terms of a recap, what I would say is, first of all, stop chasing people that you shouldn't be chasing, okay? Meaning you've got to know for sure if they meet the standards, and maybe it's time to really take a look at your standards and decide, you know what, I need some better quality leads. And if that's the case, guess what? You got to get back to lead generation, which is a whole different topic, of course, but maybe that's part of what has to happen. Secondly is, try to remove that thought from your mind that all you're doing is pestering people. No, what you're doing is the job they asked you to do, which is to stay in touch. If they decide that they no longer have a need for what you offer, obviously at that point, we shift them to just being in our database, which is, remember what I said to you guys at the beginning, there's two groups. Leads are people that actually are saying they want to, plan to, need to buy or sell. Database are people that we're just staying in touch with to maybe get future business or get referrals from. There's nothing wrong with taking a lead that was a lead and change their mind and putting them in your database. Okay? And then thirdly is, make sure you have the steps outlined, okay? So step one, maybe they get a little short video that you film and you text it out to the lead right after you talk to them, okay? Or it could be a generic follow-up letter that you just print out on your letterhead. You stick a couple business cards in there, you stick a little marketing brochure in, and off it goes. And then you put it in your follow-up system. You know, Espresso Agent pops up in a couple of days and tells you, hey, call this person back. Make sure they got the information that you sent them. See if they have any other questions. Then the fourth step might be postcard number 1. Fifth step might be a text. Sixth step might be another phone call. Seventh step might be an email market update. Eighth step is another postcard. Ninth step is another text. You guys see, this just rolls on for as long as it needs to. And as they get closer, the timing between those activities shrinks. So somebody that's 4 months out, there might be 10 to 12 days in between your connections. When they get to 2 months out, it might be 5 to 7 days. When they're within a few weeks, you're putting something in front of them every 3 days. Okay?
Awesome.
So hopefully that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Let's throw some questions out.
My favorite part.
Yeah, that's right. I asked all my questions along the way, so I don't have any, because I really enjoyed your simplification of the process and the mindset shift in some cases to a simplified, you know.
Yeah, and that's it. I think the hardest, a lot of the agents I talk to, the hardest part is keeping it organized, which, you know, you guys have, obviously, in Espresso Agent, you have a solution for that, right? I mean, that's a big part of what you guys do, is help people keep their leads organized, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And know how to contact them and know when to contact them. So the second thing is knowing what the steps are going to be. So if you don't have a defined sequence of follow-up steps, that would be something else I would really encourage you to get clear about. And if you guys have questions about this, maybe for those of you watching this as a rebroadcast, obviously you can get in touch with me and just say, well, what do you mean by a sequence of steps for following up? And I just kind of ran through one there a second ago, but you know, maybe if you need help with that, I can give you some more specific info on that.
Yeah, how do they get a hold of you if they do have questions about coaching with you or other events that you're doing?
Okay, yeah. Obviously, you can connect with me on Facebook. I've got my bigger group is called Prospecting 101 with Coach James Hotelling. You can reach me there, or you can just connect with my business page. You can email me, coachjameshotelling@gmail.com. Those are probably the two quickest, easiest ways. My direct line, if you want to pick up the phone and call, is area code 585-544-0510. So,
okay, Paul says, where's the replay? Oh, this will be replayed on the Espresso Agent YouTube channel.
Mhm.
You can go there. I don't know if they upload it right away, but revisit it tomorrow. It should probably be up there. And then earlier, Samantha asked about the scripts and the systems used. Samantha, I probably recommend that you just watch the video back and sort of write down. He didn't do a whole bunch of, set scripts. It was a little bit broader sense.
Yeah.
So unless you have someplace people can go for those things, James, do you?
I do. I have some resources as far as follow-up goes, but
Okay.
again, the follow-up process isn't really as scripted as the lead generation.
Right.
I kind of went through the 3 components of your conversation when you do call a lead back. The last time we spoke, you mentioned blank, or I wrote down blank. Is that still the case, or have you guys changed your mind? Has anything changed in your plans or whatever? And then the third thing is there anything I can do for you guys while I still have you on the phone? Do you have any questions, any information I can get to you? Anything I can do to be of help while we're waiting for the right time? Okay, so in a loose sort of a way, that's a guideline for a script or a conversation.
Mhm.
Ultimately, when it comes time to close, hey, listen, so at this point, what else still needs to happen before you guys would be ready to sit down with me and talk about the process of hiring me to sell your home?
Yeah, that's a great
Okay.
question. Yeah.
So it's just a close, a simple close.
Yeah. Awesome.
So hopefully that helps you, Samantha.
Yes, Samantha. All right, guys. Thanks to everybody who attended and participated today. Coach James, thank you again for your time. Always awesome. Really enjoyed it.
Good enough. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And, if there's any other topics that come up in the future, I'd be more than happy to do that. So thank you again. And you guys have a great, productive day, okay?
We'll see you next time.
Okay. Bye-bye for now.
Bye, everybody.